All right, we are on live. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody. Sorry for the delay. And as you know, this is Open Up. Basically, it is a platform where an individual can come and share their life stories. So, we don't have that much platform to share, especially for men and boys around the world, to share our challenges, life situations, any overcomes, ups and downs, anything. So, Voice of Men is actually not for profit organization based in Canada. It is also part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has focuses on six pillars. Let me go through the six pillars so you get an idea. First one, to promote positive male role models, not just movie stars and sportsmen, but everyday working class men who are living decent, honest lives. To celebrate men's positive contributions to society, community, family, marriage, childcare, and the environment. Third one, to focus on men's health and well being, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual. To highlight discrimination against men in areas of social services, social attitudes and expectations, and law. Fifth one, to improve gender relations and promote gender equality. To create a safer world and a better world where people can be safe and grow to reach their full potential. These are the six pillars IMD focuses. Last year, over 20 years, of course, we have a special person today to talk about International Men's Day. But the IMD has over 26 years of history. So today we have a special guest. His name is Jerome Teelucksingh. Let me welcome Jerome to the show. Thank you for such a such a short notice, Jerome. Please introduce yourself and then give some background of your profession and things. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Sivam, and good morning, good evening to your listeners in Canada and abroad and your viewers. I am a university lecturer from the University of the West Indies in the Department of History. I've been there for more than a decade, and it is in doing history that I started to realize that men were stereotyped, men were stigmatized. I also saw it in the news, locally and abroad, where I saw that men were seen as perpetrators of violence. So there was all this negative images of men that were being put forth by the media and put forth by society. And I felt that there was a need for changing the narrative. I felt there was a need for changing the discourse. Too often the discourse was just negative. And I noticed too that men were being not just stigmatized and stereotyped, but there were men who were marginalized, men who were alienated, men who were suffering from addictions, suffering from ailments, and society didn't take them on, didn't tolerate them, so it was normal. So I decided that I wanted to focus on men. I wanted to focus on helping boys become better men.
Thank you, Jerome. I already asked everybody on the show that the profession or the position we are in after a long time or such a long time, that inspiration or influence, if you go back to your early days, let's say 5 or 10 or 15 years old,
Right.
because you inspire a lot of people, including me. So I just want to take you back, those days, and then share any incident or any influence you can remember. You know what? That's I had a thing in my heart for a long time. Something like that.
Right. I felt that my dad had a major influence in my life. He was always there for not just me, but my brother, my sister, my mom. And, when I was younger, I didn't even realize he had a job because he was always there. He was there helping us with homework. On evenings, he was there sometimes helping us play, construct something. So he was part of the games. And it's only later on as a teenager I realized he
Mhm.
had a job, and I started to go around with him to see what he was doing and thing. And my dad is a minister in the Presbyterian Church. And then I realized, whilst I was a teenager, that he wasn't just influential in the family, but he was influential in the community. So I started to see him as a role model. And I started to look around and realize that some families didn't have a father. Sometimes they had a father, and the father might have been absent, or the father might not see his roles and responsibilities as serious. And I think that influenced me, to try to understand that fatherhood, sometimes I refer to it as daddyhood, fatherhood or daddyhood, being a daddy, is something that we learn on the job. You cannot pick up a manual, you cannot pick up a book and say, well, this is how I want to be, because everybody is unique. Sivam, you are unique, I am unique. Our culture, religion, societal influences will help change the way we bring up children and interact with other men and women. So I think that is what really influenced me. And my dad had a major role, and of course, my uncles and grandfather.
It's really good to hear, because it's open up. It's also part of the healing. Like most of the times, or in many cases, we don't really have a space, or we never talk about our fathers and then father figure. Sometimes it's we never had a chance to convey the message, or even talk to him personally. So this is one way to go back and then bring your memories and then share with others, or whatever you felt in your heart. So his father, of course, is always close to our heart. So let's talk about anything particularly, like when you're growing up a man, like a young boy, or become a adult, when you are at college or universities. Anything particularly you watched something, or bothered you.
I
What
think
one subjects?
whilst I was at secondary school
Mm,
or college, I think you all call it college in North America, while I was at secondary school and whilst I was at the university, I realized that many of the young men and older boys felt that they were privileged to be a man. They felt they were entitled. And this sense of entitlement made them become less focused academically, less focused on sports, even because they felt they were entitled to a job. They had a position in society waiting for them. And some of them got a rude awakening when they realized they didn't have a job, and some of them were underemployed or unemployed. Some of them maybe had a relative with a business and they saw themselves getting into that business. So I believe that it was a wake up call for me when I realized that some of the young men I was associating with felt that being male would be an easy ticket to a job or an easy ticket to life. And they didn't have that work ethic, that discipline, that productivity, that I expected from others around me. And it kind of made me realize, that there was a gender imbalance, and this was creating a lot of friction between men and women. Many of you all would have heard the term patriarchy, so all these things made me realize, that there was a problem in society that people were not tackling.
it's really eye opener for some people, not everybody, because as a man and boy, we go through so much pressure, or so much things culturally, or religion, or anything, especially on the social economic pressure. But not everybody taking a step, or think differently, because we met. It's great to see the influence where you get it. Let's talk about the International Men's Day. Where did you, or how did you come up with that, or how did you start that?
I realized during the 1990s that there was no day focused on men. There was a Father's Day, but not all men are fathers.
Hmm.
And I realized that there was a lack of unity amongst the men's organizations. There were so many divisions amongst the
Yes.
men. And on November the 19th, 1989, there was a football game or soccer in Trinidad and Tobago, and it brought unity. We were playing against the United States, and it brought my country together.
Hmm.
We transcended class, gender, ethnic, religious, geographical barriers. And I felt I wanted to preserve this day as in the future, as a sort of legacy, so that the present and the future will remember a day in which people were united. Men, women, children, we were united. There was harmony. We didn't have racism. We didn't have religious discrimination. Football, soccer had brought us together. Sport is such a unifying force. And Sivam and you all will know the importance of cricket, baseball, and basketball, as helping unite countries and the world. So
Exactly.
I felt, that November the 19th was important. And interestingly, it's the birthday of my dad. So it was a double reason why I should try to promote this day. And I felt that the time was right.
I always feel everything happening for a reason. Whenever we met back in 2018, November 19, that day I still remember every because
Right.
I was invited by somebody friend of mine, but I never had any idea. To be frankly speaking, viewers, everybody,
Right.
I didn't want to go. I didn't have any idea to attend. But something
Mm.
in my mind, the inner calling or whatever you name it. It's what, let's go and then see what's going on. At least
Right.
for try. Then I went there and then I felt really after I listened Jerome's speech, I until
Right.
he come to the stage and then speak. I didn't have any idea. So,
Right.
but whenever I was listening his speech, I just had a quick thought. You know what? I just want to do something, and then I wanted to contribute something to men's world. So
Mm.
that's where my influence, my journey started with Jerome. It's
Right.
very quite interesting though. But let's talk about the IMD International. What are the activities or any projects, anything going on? What's going on?
Right. Because of the current pandemic,
Hmm.
the majority of observances will be virtual. There will be the use of platforms such as Zoom, Skype, the present platform you are on, Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So there are plans to have it, but it will be virtual. And I believe that with virtual observances, we'll have more online participation.
Hmm.
So I know that usually every year people would mention it on Twitter, on social media. But this time, a lot of the activities will be done right here on social media. So I'm hoping that we could generate some more discussion online.
Um, I also want to share this because of yeah, Jerome. I actually started Voice of Men, and I want to do more. We have to have some kind of organization or team here, local team in Canada.
Right,
So that's how we can help our boys and men. It doesn't matter either on a smaller scale or a larger scale, but still we need to have some kind of a team to focus a couple of things. So recently started a Facebook that you are watching right now, guys, and then also the open up. This is a platform any individuals can come and share your life journey. There's no gender limitation. There's no age limitation. Wherever you're from, you can
right,
still share, come and participate. You can share, and also we are doing a monthly webinar. But let's talk about the World Day of the Boy Child. a little bit more. That's where your passion is. I know. So give us a clear picture about that.
I started to realize about 5 years ago that
Hmm.
it's so difficult to change men because we are like already grown trees. It's difficult to change the shape of a tree when it is an adult.
Yeah.
And I realized that I should look further into the origins of some of these problems and try to nip them in the buds, try to find out what caused this trauma, these problems that men are facing. And I realized that during boyhood, during adolescence, during that nurturing socialization stage that is so crucial, something went wrong. Boys were programmed differently. Boys were put in a different direction that made them grow up into these adults. And Sivam, you'll be shocked that I started to unearth some stories where boys were physically, sexually abused, they suffered psychologically. Some of them could not afford to go for help by a psychiatrist. Some of them didn't have money, they didn't know where to turn to. And because of this trauma, some of them went into addiction, some of them became bullies at school. They found different coping mechanisms which were antisocial, which society frowned on. And I started to realize that if I would focus on boys, I would be able to help improve the next generation. So this is what I conceived that I should have a day focused on boys, and I chose the 16th of May because it's my mom's birthday, and she played a critical role to raise two boys, right? And I wanted the world to know too that often we believe that women cannot raise men, women cannot raise boys. But I also want to tell them that the woman is important in the family unit. We have a lot of men's groups and men's organizations. They tend to do anti-female bashing or woman bashing, but I wanted to highlight the critical influence of a woman and a mother or aunt or a woman influence, a motherly influence in the upbringing of a boy, a man. Now, some of you all might find that is strange. Some of you all might feel that the woman might make the boy soft or might make him effeminate. But Sivam, you would realize that sometimes men keep their feelings bottled up. Crying, a simple thing as crying, is seen as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Sometimes men have their emotions bottled up. I've seen men who don't want to cry at funerals. Sometimes their close friends, relatives die, and they refuse to cry because they feel crying would make them less of a man, reduce their masculinity. So I want us to understand that the world of the boy child is trying to let the boys understand that their emotions are so important and that they have choices, they have options. Too often we force our boys and say you have to be an artist, a musician, a lecturer, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And that boy might want to be a carpenter, a plumber, a mason. He might want to be a craftsman, a
Mm.
woodcutter. And you see, that is the problem boys are having. To choose their careers, society has influenced them and pressure them. You know.
Um, it's very quite interesting, and then of course it's shocking, and it is good to go back and then you touch a few very important points, Jerome. The social pressure, or it's decades and decades, for centuries and centuries, in any ethnic groups. It doesn't matter what race or what caste or whatever,
Yeah,
what nationality you are from. But the thing is, we men, it's the way the society raised, or caught up in I don't know. It's so unfair, because end of the day, soul is a soul. There's no difference between men and women in a
yeah,
life of equation. There's no you cannot take one and other, it's men and women. It's supposed to be in the equation, though, right? So, of course, the tears, the under pressure, whoever, the father or any kind of man, they don't
Mhm.
be openly discuss or anything, even tears. Of course, sometimes only when we see movies or something like that, just we see some incident, we just saw some tears, but nothing else. Like you don't really cry. We don't
Yeah,
even talk about crying. It's very shocking.
yeah,
Let's because you wrote a book and then you did a lot of works around men and masculinity. So let's talk about the social pressure. What's the commonality or what are the major things that you see in those areas? Any when you go back in history, when you compare any
yeah.
so which is it, culture or religion? Which one is dominating, or what are the social issues?
I believe culture might be dominating, and also later on religion. Remember, religion was invented by man, and before we existed, well, before religion existed,
Hmm.
we grew up as tribes. Men had to be the warrior, the
Yeah.
protector of the tribe, protector of the civilization, so that man, early man, was the hunter, the gatherer, the fighter, the protector of the village, the protector of the family,
Hmm.
and that translates into the 21st century breadwinner. He has to bring home the money. He has to be the major earner. So that there are cultural pressures where the man was supposed to be the protector, the guider, the advisor. And if you look into the culture, the priests, the military, all these people were men. It was later on, much later on, women came into the picture. So that cultural pressure, and then later on the religious pressure, programmed or put men into certain prescribed roles that put that pressure on them, societal pressure. So it is difficult to try to change that narrative because when you start discussing that, it's considered taboo. And people might think you're attacking their religion or you might be attacking their culture. All right. Um, I was trying to explain to one of my friends, about equality and equity. And he was telling me about the caste system in India and that everybody had specific jobs and you were born into a caste and you remain that way. So you see, that is one example where, culture and religion, you know, meets resistance when it comes to promoting some of the objectives of International Men's Day.
Um, yeah. The other thing is, I just want to ask you two things also. It is a common and comment, and then also I would ask you. Not only the men, also some of the times, or many times I come across, we don't realize, or they don't really in the position of accepting, when we have emotions, or we can share or anything. It's very sad to see that, because unless they don't realize it or recognize it, it's very hard to open up. That's why there's under pressure, and then they take after a certain time, it goes to in a different direction. So let's talk about the from the woman's perspective. Like not only boys or men, so we had to understand, recognize the problems that our own boys and men facing the problems, how we can come out from that, but also uh, from the society point, or from the women's side. Let's talk about that. How do you see, or what are the things you want to see, like from the women's side?
I think that the women need to understand what the global men's movement is trying to achieve.
Hmm.
The women also need to understand also that all men are not evil, and not all men would be aggressive, because it's very easy to take a brush and just paint
Yeah.
all men as, being rapists or being murderers. So I think that women need to understand that, if an incident occurs, it doesn't mean all men are guilty of doing that or capable of doing that. So
Mm.
that we need to avoid the generalizations. And I think what is very unfortunate is, and Sivam, you would know too, the Me Too movement, which started off in the United States and spread, it has been given some traction, and it has now, sort of polarized men and women in some societies.
Yeah, and also the law, the way it is set up in every part of the world, across the world, it's really it's favor of woman or favor of a child. It's unfortunate. I don't know where they come from or how did they set it up, but
Yeah,
it's very unfortunate. The good thing you pointed out that it's also the women. They had to think, they had to realize, they had to understand. I think that the missing part is the communication, though, because
yeah,
understanding from their perspective, how as a boy, because they are the one actually very attached to the men's side, rather
hmm
than men to men, the
yeah.
woman. So they have to understand that. Um, Anything else you want to add? I know you were you had to leave, but anything in your mind that you want to add before you let you go?
I think that what I want to end off with is to say that if we have to create the change that, International Men's Day wants to see, we need to have institutions, we need to have governments, organizations, NGOs on board. We cannot be having part of society moving in one direction and the next part of society moving in the next direction. So that, if we have some good six objectives, we cannot have, for example, the court system. We cannot have the court saying that if there's a separation or divorce, the kids or the child goes to the woman, goes to the wife or the girlfriend. There's an inherent bias, that the woman is more caring and the man cannot care for the children. So this is what I'm trying to say, that we need all institutions. We need to try to create a transformation that would transcend government organizations, everyone. So this is what we need.
Exactly. And as you said earlier, it is just a beginning. So to break the cycle or create some awareness, it is not against women, but it's
Right,
also they just we just want to understand what the men and boys they are going through, the life challenges.
right,
Many years and then decades. There's no platform to open up, and then they don't really open. We don't have an open conversation though, so that's a major problem. And then we need to break that cycle though, right? So far, you guys know nearly 90 countries. It's not just a simple thing to bring 90 countries, and then they are taking whatever they can do on a regular basis. So this movement or the global movement has to go and then reach out everybody. So whoever is watching, and then just to pass the message, and then you have to feel, you can feel it, and it's not only about boys and men, also women's side girls, even at a school, from any point of view, as a teacher or educator or anybody. So the government agencies too, they had to realize so many things. So there are number of things happening around the world related to men, boys and men's. So, but it's still there are so many people, they are not coming out, or they're so scared to come out and then share what's going on. It doesn't matter child abuse or even big adult man. After I started this show, I heard a lot of stories within my community, Tamil communities. There are so many men. I mean, they don't have that capability. They are scared to come out and then share a lot of things because the family or the society or the community, whatever you name it, they don't want to come out. So it is very sad to see that. But at least, if not our generation, at least the next generation can take a part, and then at least they can realize, especially the young generation from the college or universities or high school, they had to realize, they had to know what's going on, and then they had to break the cycle though. So thank you, Jerome. I really appreciate that. Uh, I want to end up with this because of Jerome, his inspiration, his influence. I had a just a it's not a just a one more thing I want to do. It's just an inner calling, and then I just wanted to do something for the men's world. So that's as a man. I knew my father also passed away when I was 1.5 years old. So I know the struggles. I witnessed so many things, but we never realized. But this is the way we have to come out, and then we had to share things. Jerome, one more time, thank you. I really appreciate that. Just I can you can leave if you want. So just quickly closing. Whoever is willing to come and share your life experience on Sundays from 10 to 10:30. You can come and do it in English. This is, as I said earlier, there's no gender limitation or age or any part of the world. You can come and do it. Or if you cannot, on Saturdays from 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the evening Canadian time. And also I am doing a Tamil show from 7:30 to 8 o'clock on Wednesdays evening Canadian time again. Thanks a lot, everybody. So pass the message. So please get in touch. Voice of Men. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.